Hey, howdy, hey, welcome back to Raven Lofty Review. It is I, the infallible Wyatt, and my wonderful companion, the insurmountable Sengoku.
How's it going, everyone?
Hey, so, Sengoku.
Yes, sir.
I see some very fine, beautiful people behind us. What are we covering today?
This week we're going to be doing a little bit of Mongoose's Traveler.
Woo!
So the Traveler series hasn't always been a Mongoose game, but for the last two versions of it has been, and they've taken over and they're releasing quite a bit of content. And Wyatt and I thought this would be a great time to talk about it, as it's one of our favorites.
Oh yeah, I've been playing Traveler for about 5 years now. Not as long as I have several other RPGs, but none of the other, even though Dungeons & Dragons is so vast in its capacity, Call of Cthulhu is so cool with its focus on skill and capabilities in the real realm. There's just something about this beautiful sci-fi setting that keeps me coming back. And I think a lot of that is honestly the system. Mm-hmm. No one else does things quite like this game.
I feel like I came to this the opposite way of how it was intended. I came to this system after playing Star Wars, after playing Star Trek, after playing Aliens. I played Mothership. What was that was called?
Oh, I loved Mothership. Yeah.
So I played all of those and then moved over to Traveler. So it's kind of a different experience than a lot of the people who've been playing it since possibly 1977 when it came out.
Oh yeah. For those who may not know, Traveler is one of the oldest RPGs that exists. This came out around the time, because Call of Cthulhu didn't come out until 1980 something. Dungeons and Dragons had just come out, and it came out a few months after the movie Star Wars for A New Hope even came out to theaters. So if you haven't ever heard of this, it's okay, but you're in for a surprise, because this thing is gonna be as old or older than some of our most elite players that have been playing forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and don't feel bad, because I have been RPing for over 20 years, and I had never heard of this game until last year. So. Oh
yeah, I got the luxury to show this mug some beautiful travel and adventures.
Mm-hmm. yeah, and pretty quickly I fell in love with it because of the possibilities. That's really for me what a good RPG is. I look at it and it's kind of like movies, right? It doesn't have to have a good plot. If you're I could see this as the future of movies.
Oh yeah.
I could see this game being the possibilities of going to all these different worlds and exploring and kind of taking whatever sci-fi is your favorite and inputting that into this game. Because I love Star Wars, the RPG, but you're gonna be in Star Wars. I love Star Trek, but if you don't like Star Trek, that's not a good game for you. But this game is good if you like Firefly, if you like Alien, if you like any especially obscure sci-fis. You can really just make that game into this game.
Yes, and we're bringing up these things because how best to explain Traveler? Well, I'll just explain it the way that they would have explained it when all these things that he's bringing up came out. In fact, there are a lot of theories that Firefly was just Joss Whedon's Traveler game that went on forever, and it was the reason why he had 8 seasons worth of story ready to go. And if all of it was as good as what we got in 13, 14 episodes, there's plenty to experience. Traveler at its core it is the ultimate sci-fi RPG. In my opinion, the ultimate sci-fi sandbox. You ever wanted to experience Battlestar Galactica? You ever wanted to go on the front lines and face off and do things and commit to the violence engaged in Starship Troopers? Did you want to explore new worlds? Did you want to have kind of an Expanse kind of experience? Do you want a First Contact or a Mass Contact? Do you want to do Mass Effect in space? Mass Effect, this vibrant open world. Well, Firefly is very huge, like I said, expired very likely from this game. Well, what if you could do all of that and then all of it be your own original content? You don't have to be in the world of Star Wars aliens. You don't have to have xenomorphs. You can, of course, reference them naturally, because boy howdy do they reference a lot of things in this, but you are not limited by, you're in this setting. This is a lot for some people to process, just how much freedom they have. But that's what gives it a lot of that fun, is that there can be these structured absolutes, but at any point, you as the game leader want your party to go to a whole other part of space. If they feel comfortable with it, you can. You want to play space truckers delivering materials from one star system to another? You can. You want to be couriers? You want to be battle warriors? You want to be literally selling fluffy biscuits? I still am in the belief that Pulsar, Lost Colony, you could easily tell that story in a Traveler game.
Oh, for sure. Easily, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing, is this game is for any of you who are playing, who want a sci-fi game but don't want to play in a known universe, because almost all of them are in a known universe, and really to me it's the pinnacle sci-fi game, because the only one up there for me that is on the same par is Spelljammer, but Spelljammer is not sci-fi, it is fantasy in space. If anybody's heard of Spelljammer, it's literally you're on an open-top ship with a bubble around it, flying a squid around space. It is not, it's not realistic sci-fi.
Spelljammer is to this as Treasure Planet is to Treasure Island. It's
right.
in the same vein, but not the same.
Yeah, exactly. But this is the game for anybody who wants something outside of those huge, gigantic properties. Any small sort of, if you love small sci-fi projects, this is perfect for that. And it really does give you the freedom. As Wyatt said, it's been around since 1977. It's gone through 11 different versions, which to me is the most. At one point it was in a GURP system, it was a D20 system. Now they're back using, what would you call it? I guess a D6 system, right?
Yes, so Mongoose Publishing have currently had their hands on the title, and in my opinion, they're doing great things. But they switched it actually too similar to its original model, because if you didn't know, all RPGs, including Dungeons & Dragons 1st Edition and Chainmail, all used only D6s when they first came out, and so too did this game. They all used just a D6 because they were really the only dice available until those new dice to add number generation were available. Well, they looked at it and they were like, well, it worked so good then, but what if we revamp it and do something new with it? And that's the system we have. We have the I guess they want you to technically call it. They don't want you to call it necessarily the D6 system. They want to call it the 2D system or what the fuck ever.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a point of contention I brought up to Wyatt earlier, is they say 2D a lot. They'll roll 2D, and I'm like, just say 2D6. Like, is it so hard to slap a 6 at the end of that? I know that you only use 6-sided die, but just do it for my sake, please.
They just want people like you to shit and scream themselves to death. You know how it is.
But yeah, when this game came out and all those original games, there wasn't this huge industry that there is pumping out, plastic dice of all shapes and sizes and colors, and it was just like, people taking dice out of board games and using those,
Oh yeah. I believe the original dice set, some of them were literally just Farkle dice.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy how far we've come.
Yeah. And with that, there's a huge amount of content and stories and adventures, and I think Mongoose has done a really good job of taking that stuff and bringing back the stories that were really popular, or that there's like a cool new nuanced take on it, and rewriting it for kind of, the modern gamer, which is a little bit more nuanced, a little bit more, mature than the what the original plan was, because you can really play anything you want now, whereas back then it's like, you want a sci-fi game? This is the only sci-fi game in town, so
this is it.
Yeah. So yeah, like I guess this is sort of like the comeback story now of this game.
Oh yeah, I will say, it is thanks to Mongoose. Some people are like, oh, why'd they do this, X, Y, Z? I say, I'm thankful. It's more popular now than it has been in years. The last time it was quote unquote big was in the late 90s, similar to Dungeons and Dragons. And then hitting it big in the early 2000s. But then it kind of disappeared for a while. But then they got a new fresh coat of paint, kicked things in, especially with second edition. Oh my god, they really have exploded. They've, like you said, they've been reworking old editions of the game from the variety of the fucking 10 other versions of the fucking game. These different stories that can be told, these different events, different locations, different character styles of play, because we're not going into mechanics yet, but you'll notice this does not play anything like Dungeons and Dragons. Like, you're in for a very different experience, and it's for the better because the system is good. World can be just about anything you want. What is there not to love? It's sci-fi. This game is the embodiment of sci-fi, in my opinion. It does so good.
Yeah, because it's really it's the openness, it's the vastness. It's not known space is gigantic to start with, and then you can set your campaign anywhere you want, so you can really make up the entire world, the climate, the alien life, the politics. If sorry, go ahead.
I was just agreeing with you. There are rules to build every step of a planet, from its arrangement to its climates, different climate zones, all the way to different cultures of the people who live there, down to what kind of lawlessness the planet has, and so on. There's so much customization. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, but that's it.
Yeah. No, and yeah, so I mean the options are pretty limitless. And Mongoose has been putting out a lot of their adventures with a lot of help from the community, because this game has a very strong community. And until Mongoose was putting out these games, it really was, if you wanted content, this is it. Even as far as stories go, that's still community driven. There's not you won't go into your local bookstore and find Traveler novels, but if you go online, you will find a lot of people writing stories set in the Traveler universe, or Traveler adjacent anyways.
Yeah, treasure trove of stuff to find. Oh yeah.
Well, speaking of which, I thought we'd show one of the cool resources that are out there.
Oh yeah.
For travelers. So here we are. This is a site here. What's it called again? Traveler map.
So the technical site name of this is just travelermap.com. and you pull it up, and it has, well, you'll get to see, but this compiles information all the way from the beginning, 1977, all the way to the modern period. And well, I'll let you hold it from here because I got the luxury of showing you this.
Yeah, which is, and it's pretty. At first, I was just like, "This looks silly. Like, what is this?" And then I realized what it encompasses. So, if you see down here this little tiny area called chartered space, that's where most 90%, 99% of the stories are told. And you're like, "Oh, okay, it's just this little area." But then, as you zoom in, you start to realize that this is not a little part of space. This isn't Star Wars area of space. So this is all areas in which you could set your games. I'm just gonna let the browser catch up with us a little bit here.
Oh yeah. Enhance!
Yeah.
Enhance!
We have the technology. But yeah, it's very cool how much effort was put into this. Okay, so yeah, we just got it loading up here. And as you zoom in, it gets more detailed, obviously. So this here is known space. So let me actually zoom out a little bit so we can look at it. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, we have, this is the Imperium, which is basically like a thing that's come about from the very beginning, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of that, but...
So we are currently in the third Imperium. You know, two empires have risen before and have crumbled under the weight. As this empire has existed from the beginning of this game, and I believe the rise and fall of said empire has taken place again through the multiple fucking editions of this game.
Yeah, there's been multiple assassinations and multiple coups and things like that.
But because space is vast, and as we get closer and closer, you'll see that communication from the top of the Imperium to the bottom near the Soleimani Empire can be, well, those who are a fan of the always beloved Warhammer franchise, not necessarily to the same magnitude as that, but you know, communication is a very important but difficult and strenuous thing to maintain, because one day the Arlen Hecate could make an assault or a maneuver, and the people of the 2000 worlds may not know about it until half a year later, depending on how bad communication may be.
Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong again, but the Imperium was originally like a human empire, was it not?
So the Imperium was at its core a human-risen society. And as humanity spread forth across the stars, they began to encounter other species. And from that experience, the expansion of them, they also broke away. The Soleimani are actually humans as well. Yeah. They are a type soul humans. In fact, some may even say they are the original humans, hence the name Sol Amani, those who stayed in the soul sphere. However, the Imperium are those who have arisen their epic worlds and has been more willing to allow for now Vargur to join their society, Aslani to join the society, as well as the countless other races that have been propping up and joining with it. As the empire has fallen and risen, they realize that unification with the other races is the only way to survive. Do all the races agree on this? No. But they leave their doors open for other races to become members of their society. And yes, so starting out as a human-led society, over thousands of years, this perception has changed, leading to a prosperous future.
Yeah, it's a very multi. I don't want to say multi-ethnic because it's not ethnicities. It's species, multi-species.
Special, yeah.
special empire, but as all of them are. But at its core, the concepts are that of like a human type of what we think of when we think of an imperial. You know, same with the Soleimani. The Zodani are as well, right?
The Zodani are also humans who, I believe, their consulate, they separated, and their ultimate goal is focusing on Xenos evolution. They've devoted themselves to the Ancient Ones, as did the Vargur. The Vargur extent, there's a lot of words I'm throwing around, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of lore here. The Zodani had separated from the core of human society and have congregated and contained an entire nest of stars themselves. Then you see between the Imperium and the Zodani countless upon countless of smaller clusters of different human, non-human groups who either work together or clash or engage in their own proxy wars. The Vargur are a wolf-like people.
Very cool.
Who are very cool. They're my favorite race to play. There actually are, they were not just descended, they are literally over 100,000 years ago, an ancient race known as, who guessed it, the Ancients, came and took Canis lupus from Earth. At least this is the idea. Is this true? Is it not? There is links that it's possible but may not be true. Took them and reverse engineered them and created a super powerful, intelligent wolf race. And that is where we get these wolf people who have developed and have a deep devotion and see the Ancients as their gods. The Ancients aren't here anymore, but their technologies are left behind. Similar to in like Mass Effect with the Prometheans, their technology left behind and could be reverse engineered. Whereas the Azlani or the Arlan Herates, these lion people, as they're colloquially called, they are, they are similar to in Wing Commander, the cat people from that. There we go, thank you. The Azlani, they are not actually like lions, but everyone sees them, and humans are like, "Oh, lion man."
Yeah, we like in almost all of the art and things that people do, they draw them much more leonine than we think than they actually would be. They're more, they consider themselves to be bears. Essentially.
Oh yeah.
More what's the word for it? Orso.
Ursine.
Yes, that's the word I was looking for.
You're good. Being that you were a bear, goddamn.
Yeah, in Traveler, I was a different race of bear.
Oh yeah,
the Ursi.
Exactly. Which leads to, I was bringing up these three because originally and all along, at least the original three that are the core and when you get the book, the three races that you can for sure play as are human, Vargur, and Azlani. Like, right from the book. You can, of course, there's other races, and we'll talk about those later, they might come up, or there's even rules to making your own original species. I've seen great stories where it's been all human cast. I've seen runs where it's a hodgepodge. I've seen one where everybody played as a Vargur, and it was all wolf people praising the Ancients. There's so many ways to play it. I've seen some where every single none of the players chose any of the core races and made their own fundamentally own experience, and all created their own histories, their own worlds, and I got the luxury to run it. So, so quite literally, the galaxy is your oyster.
We just wanted to show you basically like this area here is a super rich area full of stories and different races and different groups, and this is just a small sector. Even if I go over here, there's kind of like offshoots and things that are just around it. You see these little markers in red. These are things that like people have written stories about, and as we zoom in, we'll start to see. Yeah. There you go.
You get to see my favorite part of it.
Yeah. So this is where it gets intense. So if you,
Love.
all these little white dots you see, those are worlds. So
they had to break things down based on grids, and you have to like go through each grid because there's so many stars. Here, go. You go explain it. I'm sorry.
Well, where do you want me to go? Pick a quadrant.
We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna jump into the Delphi. We're gonna go onto barely the edge of the Imperium. It's gonna be dead center to the right next to the Messalina or Massilla.
The Massilla.
It's in the Empire, right in front of you. Scroll forward.
Okay. I see it here, the Delphi.
There you go. So we just go into the Delphi sector. If you look, you can see these lines. These are intergalactic highways of stars that are known to be easier to get to than others. And so they're structured out, they're common trade routes. If your characters are either, again, like I said, there's an entire mechanic for buying and selling over 1,000 different kinds of goods. You can be an intergalactic trucker, delivering materials and fighting people who try to board your ship, and you can literally be a merchant marine. I've played one where I was a merchant marine. It can be really fucking fun. But here, we zoomed into the Delphi quadrant. Looking at each of these stars, you can just zoom into any one of them, and you can just looking closer, and even those quadrants are broken down further into each of these smaller areas. And then look at that. Each of the locations that have a gold over them, that means they're a planet that is inhabitable, or they're a location that has a structure where the players can be able to go to it and all that. So you can click on any one of them, and it has, for most, not every single one because they're not crackheads, but if you click on one, there's a wiki page, and you can learn all about the location because there are literally thousands of them on this map.
Yeah, and there's codes, that break down everything. So, like, if you were someone who was obsessed with this game, someone could just say the UMP, and you'd know exactly what the world is. It's crazy. Like, so the C is the starport, 7 is the size, 8's the atmosphere, then you got the hydrosphere, the population, the government type, law level, technology level, and so you could just buy the UMP or UWP. It tells you everything about the world. And yeah, like some are gonna have, huge starports. Some are, the ones on the trade routes are obviously probably gonna be, I think Laura's probably. Yeah, so it's got a good starport. It's got inhabitable atmosphere. Not so high on the technology level, but this one's probably an A. Yeah, perfect. So, and this is all, like, this is a whole map of this. So, which is great because as a GM, which in this game is called a referee, which I still don't know how I feel about a referee, but I'll accept it.
Start blowing the whistle whenever we do something outside of your skill.
Yeah, exactly. As a hockey fan, it's hard for me to like a referee. So
there you go.
But it gives you options because let's say you just wanted to build, your campaign, and you're like, I want my PCs to go to a populated space. You just pick a super populated area of space. If you want them to go out somewhere where there's not a lot of people, you could just click on a world and be like, cool, Kumish. That's where I'm setting it. This is what it has, and then you create your story around that because let's see if, I don't know if this will pull it up. I don't know if the, yeah, okay. So this one has a little bit of history, a little bit of backstory, not much. But some worlds, it's crazy. I picked a world out in the middle of nowhere, so probably not. But some of them will have a lot of background, a lot of history, and yeah, you can set your world there, and it takes a little bit off your plate as a referee, I do. I'm gonna keep doing air quotes around it.
Referee.
Yeah, it allows you to just kind of like jump into a game and have, I don't know if you're the same way, but I hate coming up with names of places. It drives me absolutely insane. So I like to have something that's like, oh cool, this world, great. Okay, it's established, perfect. It's on a map. I'll create everything in that city or town or world. But if the game does it for me, it's just a little shortcut I like.
I'm okay if it makes it for me. I also don't mind building names of things. I have fun with it, but sometimes I'm too busy focusing on these key characters that the name of this location is not my immediate concern. So I get exactly what you mean.
Yeah. Ooh, I haven't seen one of these. Technology level F.
Yeah.
Technical Imperial Maximum. Jeez.
Yeah, so technical, so what that is that location, it surpasses the standard strength of technological strength. So that world could be, it's likely a TL-15, or because it's an F, it can technically go higher to like TL-16. Technically, there is no end to how high it could get, but those usually, even the book says, may appear in the other universes or discovered by pioneers, but is not tend to be these locations. But so there you go. Why does this location have such powerful technology? You could easily say, oh, it's because it's a high-end facility and it has a lot of things. Or there's testing that takes place here. And then boom, you have a story right there.
Yeah. And that's what I guess what I meant by shortcuts is you can just peruse this and the ideas just pop into your head when you click on a world. You click on a world and it tells you a little bit about it and you're like, I can already see the plot lines. I can already see based on where it is in space and sort of its technology levels. Like you're like, cool, I want to do a Firefly game. So you find a world and you're like, cool, awesome. This is not going to be a world with, hovercrafts flying everywhere. And actually, this one is 4 million people. That's a pretty decent one. It's just low technology level. But the point being,
low technology. I mean, remember we had on Earth we had comparatively low technology in like 17th century. We still had several million people on the planet.
That is true. Yeah.
So, that's just how people evolve.
Yeah, but you can set your game in a Wild West sort of setting by looking at a technology level and being like, oh, cool, these people are kind of, and that's what's really cool about the game is, you can go to places where the technology isn't, it's not, it's kind of like those episodes in Star Trek when they go to a planet and they, they make first contact and they're like, they're kind of going down and they're Roman. All of a sudden you're like, okay,
sir,
this is just...
You've crashed down on the planet. All of our phasers are busted and these motherfuckers have swords and shields. And I think that one is in a Roman style galate.
Yeah.
Well, we're defensive positions.
Well, another thing that's cool that we didn't talk about too is the Traveler's Aid Society, which is essentially space AAA.
Hell yeah!
They give ratings on the planet. So the last planet we went to was green. This one's a amber. So it's like I would be careful if you go there because you don't know.
Dumb motherfucker.
You don't know what's going on there. Whereas I'm sure, like if I went to a war-torn area, I don't know if this one is. Perfect. Restricted. You just can't go there. Just don't
go.
Yeah.
Just stay the fuck away.
Yeah. And it's like, why is that? Who knows, right? Maybe the page will tell me why, but probably not. Yeah, no.
Even if the page doesn't, you can find a reason.
That's forbidden, non-industrial world. So yeah, it gives you like a little bit of backstory to add to your world. But yeah, this is like, how many hours of like work was put into this? It's insane. Like when you scroll across all of it and you look at all of these worlds and all of it is detailed and So when we say there's a community, we mean there's a community for this. Oh yeah, and the Reft, that's an area that was added, just recently in the 5th edition, right? If I'm correct.
Yes.
And the, the 2nd edition of...
The 2nd edition of Mongoose's Hands.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I just figured I'd show you that. I think that's a cool, kind of a cool thing about this world of Travelers, that there's a lot of work that's put into it. A lot of community effort to really flush out, sort of the lore. Because the book doesn't give you a lot. At least not the first one. At least not the rule book.
Absolutely.
There is there's a lot of supplements though.
There is so much supplemental information, it will make your head spin. Because there is so much to this world, not just in what you saw, but that what you guys have seen is just the map. You haven't seen the plethora of choices, decisions, items, equipment, how to operate a ship, and all that beautiful stuff that we will be covering and we will show you. But you are stuffed to the brim with content and you don't even know it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, that's the nice thing, honestly, about the new structure of digital, is that you can have all these supplements, and it's you can actually it's something you could collect. Whereas when I was first playing 3.5, every book you wanted to get was $40 to $60. It was a hardcover book. It was a nice book, but a lot of the time you'd have your 10 minutes in the gaming store to decide whether this is a good book for you. And I'll be honest, I have a couple of them that Weapons of Legacy, that's just a flop. It's just, that's a terrible book. I'm never gonna use this.
That is a pile of shit.
Whereas in the, either from the site or from Drive-Thru RPG or whatever, these are things that you can pick up, and you can get them for relatively low price. If you want to run an adventure and it's gonna cost you $17, it's okay, split 4 ways. That's nothing, right? So it's a good investment, and I think it lends itself well to the sort of world we live in, where you can just buy everything online, download your PDF, and take it going forward.
Yeah, take you on a trip anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why my tagline every time I run this game is go anywhere, because I like to reinforce the idea that the game provides very well. Because that was actually a belief of the creator of the game. And one of the key creators and developers, Dr. Keith Fry, was a very big fella that you've probably never heard of until this statement. Fortunately, he died of cancer last month. In fact, he passed away March 10th. He had a constant love for the sci-fi universe. When they would play their own games, the creativity, I'm sure, that sat at that table may have been different than us, and with no offense to them old farts, but they definitely play a different game than what we play.
Yeah.
At often. But he had a constant love for what we do, and a constant love of your creativity and my creativity, and the fact that you can write and do anything. And I'm just bringing that up because we gotta. This is a game that's touched a lot of lives, and some of you are getting to experience it for the first time. You know what I say? I am so goddamn happy for you, because this is something that's brought some people. I didn't even know about this game, but then I found out it had such a deep community with so many adventures and so many stories, and I got the luxury to discover it, and I got the luxury to share it, and now we'll get the chance to play it and have a good fucking time. So I just wanted to bring up that fact, and this is so much fun.
Yeah, and like I said, if you are big fans of, you know, The Expanse or, you know, Futurama or anything, and this is really like a great way to play those, like an adventure set in those worlds with something that's already like there's enough, they give you enough that you have structure, but not enough that it's like it's limiting. You know, it's not like playing like, you know, a D&D game set in Faerun where you're like, these are well-established places with well-established characters, and that's great. Like I love that too. But what's cool about this is if I were to DM a quest for you, or why it was going to, it would be in a completely new, interesting world that you've never heard of.
Oh yeah.
Or you, like I said, you could do something that's already established. You know, you're a belter in the Expanse universe, and you're just, you know, you could do Cowboy Bebop. You could do any of those things that might not have its own RPG, or let's be frank, the RPG just stinks, and you don't want to play that rule set. This is a great way to access those properties.
Living like, and he hit it on the head. You could make an amazing story of just a planet. You could make an amazing story of just a solar system, and there can be so much to experience. You don't need this map. But if you do, reinforces just how big it can get.
Yeah, I mean,
if you need your time focusing on one planet, we completely understand.
Yeah, I mean, you could have a whole game that actually never takes place in a spaceship. The whole thing is set on a planet, and the entire game, you know, some of the storylines, you know, were just like your goal in the end of the game, the end of the game, like the whole adventure is you get a ship.
Yep. There are several of them where that's the end token. You got it on point. Like you literally take ferries everywhere, and you pay for transportation and shit, and you make it there.
Sorry, my dog gets really excited when we talk about Traveler.
Oh my god, your dog is a Varger.
Yeah, exactly. She's a Chihuahua Varger. Yeah, so yeah, like we were saying, it's just don't be like this. This is a world where you don't need to be limited by flying through the stars, but I encourage you to, because in a sci-fi game like this, your imagination is really some of the most exciting moments has been, are we going to be able to take off or land the ship? Which is something we're going to go into with our mechanics. Is what's cool about this game is everybody has a place. You know, everybody has a position on the squad that feels important, because, you know, the guy with the gun, you know, the Jane, if we're using the Firefly analogy, is super important when you get into a firefight. But if you can't take off, if you can't keep the engines running, if you can't fly, if you can't communicate, you know, that's all well and good, but you're going to be shot out of space or crash and burn or be left dead in the air, you know, light years away from home. So everybody is important, and I'd encourage you to explore that at least at some point in any of your campaigns.
Words of Rico's Roughnecks: everyone fights, nobody quits.
Mm-hmm.
You quit, I'm going to kick you off the ship myself.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so this is basic summary of this world. There is, I encourage you guys, if any of this piques your interest, there is tons of content out there. So please,
so much.
We're here to give you an intro, but there are people making hours and hours of content just on this. So if you, when you're done our series, and if you like what you hear, please check that out, explore that, and maybe we'll share some links to some of these people when we're all done.
Hell yeah. Please remember to like and subscribe, and follow our content as well. Excited for getting to experience every step of the way. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm really excited to do the whole character creation process, because this game, and we'll get into it a little bit more mechanics, but this game is my favorite character creation ever. All time, bar none.
Completely fucking agreed.
Yeah. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone. This is Sengoku. That's my buddy Wyatt.
Hey.
We will see you soon, and until then, be kind.
Kind of.
Later.